Alrighty, everyone. So for those of you that are new, welcome to La Suprema Lunch. We are filming live today from a La Suprema meeting room. And for those of you that don't know, La Suprema Works is a co-working and event space in beautiful Barrio Viejo in Tucson, Arizona. We opened last May, and I am the community manager there. So my name is Alex Biddle, and I manage the daily operations of the space, and I'm the friendly face to greet folks as they come in and basically help everyone that's here. And today is unique because normally I'm just hosting these with whoever our expert presenter is. But today I'm hosting and co-facilitating with my partner here, Jose. So we're super excited to be here. I'm going to let Jose introduce himself, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Well, thank you, Alex. Well, I'm really excited to be here. I am a huge fan of La Suprema Lunch and Learns. So I'm really, it's an honor to be here as a guest with Alex. For those who don't know me, my name is José Muñoz. My pronouns are he, him, his. And I grew up in the borderlands here, not too far from Tucson, in Nogales, Arizona, and Eureka. I am currently the senior program coordinator here at the College of Nursing at the University of Arizona, where I advise our doctoral students, and I am also leading some efforts around equity, diversity, and inclusion here at the College of Nursing. So super excited to be here and see where our conversation goes. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I also just want to point out that Jose's a life and wellness coach too. So it's a good thing.
Thanks for the plug.
Yeah. Awesome. And so for those of you that don't know, I am not originally from Tucson, originally from Ohio, and came out here with Jose, which you're going to learn more about. So let me get this presentation up for you all, and we're excited to get started. All right, Zoom, get out of here, Zoom. Okay. So beyond love languages, cultivating strong relationships. Great. So let's just jump into it, everyone. So we're going to share our story, which we love. It's fun. It's interesting. So Jose and I met in the Dominican Republic back in 2017. I was working at a travel organization managing experiential education programs for high school students. And Jose came down as a program leader. So he was a seasonal staff. He was working full-time at the University of Kansas at the time, and had just like the most amazing boss ever. And they gave him a sabbatical. So it was so funny. I was always used to program leaders being, they were there, and you really don't get, you get paid more in like your experiences. And Jose, I was just like, this is incredible. He's got a full-time job and he's coming down here. And I was like, you have an amazing, amazing boss. So we met, and I had a really big crush on Jose, as did pretty much all the other girls on the staff. Yes, they did. Yeah. And so I was always really secretive about mine, and I shared that with. And I never really pursued anything because I was like a manager and he was seasonal program leader, so had to be professional. And then after that summer, we really just kept in touch, kind of here and there. And I would say Jose's not the best at texting.
I've improved since
a little bit, but he still has like 30 unread messages currently on his phone. So now I understand. But yeah, on Valentine's Day, actually, of 2018, he messaged me. He was in Kansas and I was in Maine doing sales for the travel company. So I was, all alone, and I got really excited. I was like, oh my gosh, did that really just happen? Did he just text me? And I messaged my friend my friend in the DR, who was a coworker that I worked really closely with, and was like, is Jose telling everyone happy Valentine's? So she said no. And I decided to let him know that since it was Valentine's Day, I would let him know that I had a crush on him the summer before. And then he said, what did you say? Do you remember what you said?
I said, no way, Jose.
Yeah, this is a big cheese ball. And and I just remember just like I was just like giddy, and it was just fun. And I really didn't know if anything was going to happen from that, because again, we were living across the country from one another. But we really kept in touch. I mean, like text messages turned into FaceTimes, and FaceTimes turned into
long phone calls.
Long phone calls, yeah. Turned into Jose visiting me in Boston a month later. So it was St. Patty's Day. And that was our first experience. Like our first date was like a 4-day experience together, like a trip. And yeah, it was great. And so since then we traveled a lot. We didn't really know what was going to happen. And Jose then came to visit me in the DR that May. And yeah, ever since, I mean, it's just been great. And we really built our relationship on long distance, which is, it's been a challenge. The distance part has been a challenge, but the traveling and stuff has been a lot of fun, and has really taught us a lot. And it kind of taught us a lot really quickly. Like when, normally when you're dating someone, it's like, oh, you have like a date for an hour. So here you grab lunch or see a movie or go for a walk. This was kind of a lot all at once. And so I think it really gave us the groundwork to like understand each other pretty quickly. Yeah. And so for a couple of years, we were kind of everywhere. Here's a picture in Peru. We were traveling back and forth and living in Kansas and traveling in Ohio and everywhere in between. And a year and a half ago, we moved to Tucson. And we love it here. We bought a house, and then we got engaged last July. And we're getting married in 2022. So lots of fun things. But we're excited, and yeah, it's good. All right, love, you want to take it away?
Well, Alex, thank you for sharing our love story.
Yeah, if you have anything to interject.
I think as we reflect on our love story, every story is unique in its own way, and I think something to appreciate and know about it. So as we were prepping for this presentation and just conversation, we do want to acknowledge that we are not experts. We still are continuing to grow and to learn about each other, and learn on how do we continue to grow together. And really, that's one thing that today we want to share with you all, on how Alex and I have been able to create a system of growth in our relationships, and then that has expanded to our personal lives as well. So we love our love, and we really truly today we want to share it, what supports us, to all of you all today. So if anything, that's what our accomplishment is. And we've set some ground rules. We really want this to be somewhat of a conversation with each other, with the audience, and we are going to be brave, vulnerable, authentic, and really try to practice active listening, something that I'm still trying to practice, and Alex as well. Yeah. But yeah, this is just a space where we'll be able to share some of those tips that we've learned, and facilitate a conversation around love languages and other tools that we've used throughout our 3 years already. So
yeah. 3 years. Yeah, Valentine's Day is always a fun day for us to celebrate. I don't know, it's kind of cheesy, but we love it. So yeah, it's special. All right, so the first thing that is helpful for us is creating intentional experiences. So for us, this means the experiences that are a little out of the normal routine that we have. So unique experience that push us outside of our comfort zone. Again, mixing up your routine, creating meaningful moments. And we found a lot of times what happens is definitely not what we're expecting. So for Jose, a lot of this has been, for Jose and I, a lot of it's been through travel. Like I said, for us, we kind of did things not really the normal way. It was like, here's everything, like, hope you like it. And so for me, that was really overwhelming. I actually wasn't in a serious, I hadn't been in a long-term, like, serious relationship before Jose. So seeing someone for everything and spending all that time with him was something so new for me. And so I think when I was like, oh, wait, there's something that's not perfect, I think I got really caught up in that. So for me, it was a lot of working on this, like, we're all humans, and we're two humans with a lot of flaws and a lot of good things too, right? But I think I had to work on that. I was like, oh, here's my perception from program leader Jose that I had a big crush on, and like, now here's the whole human, right? So I'm gonna share a funny, kind of vulnerable story about the two of us. And this example takes us back to the Dominican Republic. It's when I was finishing up managing a summer of programs there. This was after this, it was the following summer after we had met. And so Jose was back working in Kansas full time. And he came down to surprise me at the end of that summer. It was the summer of 2018, and it was going to be my last summer working in that role at the company before transitioning to like a remote position. And so at the end of the summer, we have staff party, and he flew down for that, surprised me in front of everybody, which made me really nervous. Like, just thinking about it, I'm like getting sweaty, because it was just like the whole staff was there, and I hadn't seen Jose for like 3 months. And I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, our relationship's new. I had told him that I loved him for the first time over FaceTime. It was just like, it was so funny. And on that trip, we see this beautiful beach here. We did a catamaran ride to this beach with like the whole staff, and it was a bunch of fun. They have a really big like buffet on the island that you go to. It's called Isla Sayona. And that the following day, like, the staff party was over, the large staff party was over, and we were starting a new adventure with just the full-time team. So it was about 10 or 12 people traveling to a new part of the country. It was probably like an 8-hour road trip away. And on that road trip, Jose started to not feel great. Which we're going to reference back to the buffet. So we're on our way. We get to this hotel. It's like a really small hotel that we're just staying in for the night before getting to like this next beach town. And it was probably like one of the smallest hotel rooms I've ever stayed in. And the bathroom was, like, funnily enough, it was like kind of central. Like, it wasn't far away. It was like right there. And I remember when we got there, Jose was like, I'm going to use the bathroom. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go walk around the hotel. So this was just, it was really funny. Later that night, Jose ended up getting food poisoning.
It was bad.
Yeah. We call it double dragoning, where, you're throwing up and you're, pooping your brains out. And so then I got it really soon after. So we're both like miserable in the smallest of hotel rooms. And, we're supposed to be like enjoying ourselves, like going to like the nicest beach ever. And granted, this is probably like what feels like our third date. It's like Boston, DR first time, DR second time. This is where we are. And so I was like, you know what? I need to be vulnerable here. We're both humans. And we laugh about it so much now. Like, I think through this experience, what it taught us is that as humans, like, of course, like, we're not perfect, and expecting that in someone else is just absolutely ridiculous, especially in a partner. And for us to just be like laughing about the situation, like this is hilarious and might be TMI for you all and for the world of Facebook, but I was really worried if like my number 2 was going to flush before I had to throw up. It was like, we were both like just very human in that moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think it taught us to be vulnerable. And we're not saying in this example, like to mix up your routine, go on an adventure somewhere and get food poisoning together. It's just like, it's funny, like expect the unexpected, try to plan things in your normal routine that mix it up a little bit. And you usually have a moment to connect with someone a little deeper. And so I wanted to share a couple of examples too, like with work as well. Cause I have a lot of important relationships. We have ours, but like we each have them in our professional and personal lives too. But like something that we do here at La Suprema is we have a weekly meeting every Monday. And the first thing that we do is do personal and professional best. So that means like at a minimum, we're always checking in on how our personal lives are doing before we really get into our big agenda of all the work stuff. And so that, it pushes me, in work, it's not always that you get to talk about the personal things that are going on in your life. And I have brought up some real personal things to both Gina and Katina, who've coached me through it. And it helped me on a personal level, more than just going through that weekly to-do list. And that to me is really huge. And taking time, we take time outside of La Suprema to really connect to, and it brings the human. And I think that is really important for relationships.
Yeah. And I think something that I want to highlight through the story that you shared about us is that it really doesn't take grand acts of traveling across the ocean for these intentional moments. I think intentionality can happen anywhere, but I think prioritizing that within those relationships is so important, and something that we have found very helpful through our relationships with Alex and I, and also as Alex mentioned, in our professional life. So being intentional on how you create those spaces, what those relationships look like, is so important. And I think we have been pretty intentional, and also have had the privilege to have experiences like this that have taken us out of our comfort zone. But these experiences can happen in your own backyard, in your own town. You don't have to travel across the international waters, right? So just I think overall, I think it's just be intentional within your relationships, and how you go about that, I think will really, really take you far.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And it could even be like taking more time to do like an activity. Like Jose and I are going to share a bunch of resources later for personality assessments and list of questions to ask and things like that. It really could even be something like that. Like, hey, we're going to set aside some time and do this activity together. That probably, it could feel really outside of the comfort zone, depending on their relationship. But I know, like, if I asked my dad to take a personality assessment and then we talk about it together, that would be, it wouldn't be a difficult or expensive thing to plan, but it would be a little bit out of our comfort zones to talk about that together. But it would be really meaningful. So that's kind of like what we're talking about, are these meaningful, intentional experiences that are a little outside of the norm. Yeah. For whatever your relationship looks like, right? Yeah. Okay. It's your turn.
So as we share these intent on how we've created these intentional spaces, these are some of the healthy habits, or some of the things that Alex and I have co-created within our relationship and in our experiences. So and being able to have these healthy habits really have created these spaces for you and I to talk about certain things, when we are in disagreement, when we are making big decisions or small decisions. And really a big part of it was being able to talk about our shared values and our personal values, and also our values as partners. And we've spent a lot of time doing some of that work, and really it's really kind of our approach and how we do life together in this journey. We really revisit these values frequently when we are making decisions and choices, when we are in disagreement, when we are having a good time, and we really these values are the cornerstone to our relationship. And would you like to share kind of how we've gone about kind of creating these spaces in our values?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talk about it. Like what are some of our top values together? And pretty obviously, it goes to like family, love, adventure. Yeah, a lot of those things are like things that ring true for me, or I think for both of us. But then we talk about what values we have outside of each other too. And I think that has probably been the most helpful. I know, I don't know if this is necessarily a value, but I know something about Jose is that he really likes to take time before making a decision. So he or before speaking, he really needs more like reflection time. So I would say reflection is a value for him. And I'm more of like, share your whole heart. tell me everything that's on your mind. I really, I need to know it. And so that's kind of been something for us that we've had to work on and respect. And now I'm just like, oh yeah, that's like Jose's thing. He just needs to think about things before he acts on them. And I think we've definitely learned to respect that. As long as you tell me that you need more time, then it works out really well for us. And like I really value creativity and time to kind of have my space to do those creative things. And he knows that's a value of mine, and he checks in on me, holds me accountable. Are you doing that? Or he'll say like, I haven't noticed you, like you haven't been journaling, or you haven't been spending time on doing your craft, things like that, that I'm like, oh yeah, right. And it's really good for us to hold each other accountable.
Yeah, accountability is huge in our values, and making sure we are both pushing each other to our full potential. That's something that from day one we talked about, and what that looks like. Another healthy habit is really making time for each other. And I think for us, this past year has been something that definitely has challenged us as we've been working. I've been working from home. We've experienced COVID, and just our project. We bought a home, and not only did we buy a home, but we remodeled it. So there were so many components competing for our time, and really we had to make time for each other. Not literally, we could go all day without.
It was like we would spend time together, but not do that real check-in or really have intentional fun together. Like we were kind of ignoring the intentionality, the intentional piece. So that was hard. And also, like La Suprema was opening at that time too, which was a lot of IKEA assembly, and I'll pull you in for that. And Jose just started his doctoral program. So there is a lot of things that are competing for our time. Which is an area that we're going to talk about later, but we could probably improve upon a little. So,
and I think making time for each other really it allows us to be curious of each other. And I think that curiosity for each other and each other's interests really continues to push us and continues to grow our system of growth here, because that's something that we need and we've learned. And then lastly, another healthy habit that we constantly fall back into is understanding each other's strengths. And like Alex says, I I really love the space for reflection. And I like to say, in order to be effective, we have to be reflective. So reflecting on kind of doing a self inventory on yourself, on your relationship with your partner, and really what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses with each other, and really how do we support each other. And I think Alex and I have are trying to master and how do we use each other's strengths within our relationship to really make the most out of it. And I think our morning routine is a great example of how we kind of know each other's strengths when preparing for the day. And that's something that our morning is something that we really have prioritized, because it's really the start of a day, and how we start the day sets the whole day tone. So we kind of know our routine, where now sometimes have to take the lead on the kitchen and really start making breakfast, and Alex is getting ready, and we're taking our walks are so important in the morning as we start the day. So these are some of the things that we just kind of base off of our strengths. And I think an excellent example that Alex has learned, and we've learned through our modeling, is a tool example of how we having the right tools to build our relationship.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. That. Yeah. Now I know what you're saying. Yeah. You'll see a couple of pictures here. These are kind of like two of our healthy habits that we like. The picture on the right is a photo of us remodeling our home. And I just, throughout that whole process, I just kept remembering, I just was reminded so often, like, it helps so much to have the right tools. Like, it doesn't need to be expensive, doesn't need to, it just needs to be the right thing for the job. And so I think that's a theme that's come up for us a lot, and has really helped us in creating this presentation is, what tools are we using, and what systems do we have that are really helping us to grow. And so these are also some examples. So Jose mentioned our daily routine, and he really is the master of the morning routine. I mean, he's the one that's making breakfast, making our bed, taking care of those things while I'm like getting ready to go into work. It's really nice that he's working from home, and he really is more of a morning person. So that works out better. And then I can kind of take the lead on the evening stuff because he is in school right now. And I usually do better in the I'm more active in the afternoon and more on my game, and enjoy making more like variety in dinner. So that just tends to work out really well for our strengths. And yeah, our daily walks are like just a really cherished thing for both of us. You can see our dogs, Bert and Ellie, there. And we really make it a point to go, even if it's only like a 10-minute walk in the morning or the afternoon. Sometimes they're like an hour, but we really cherish that time. And that's a time where, like, at the minimum, we're just checking in. How was your day? What's going on for you? Like, what are some of our goals that we have for the week, or, if they're longer term, this is when we talk about them. And something that we've done since moving to Tucson is we actually go on longer hikes and just the two of us, when we really have something big we need to talk about. It's how we decided we wanted to buy our house. It's how we decided that we wanted to get married. It's how we decided when we were going to get married, where we were going to get married. These are our times where we're really talking about these big things. And for me, like, what helps so much is, like, we're out in nature. That's a really calming thing. And we're doing something active. So I think for me, it really helps my brain just be clear. I'm like, gosh, our conversations hiking are so much more productive than like me sitting down. I can like feel sometimes like tension or resentment or whatever those negative things are when we're sitting down and talking to each other. But when we're having that motion, for me, I think it really helps. What do you think?
No, absolutely. And I think there is probably some science behind that, as our neurons are being activated.
Yeah, the experts can tell you.
But I truly do believe that I think when we're actively hiking and having conversations, it has definitely, I think, cultivated just a better communication when making these big decisions, or just talking through experiences, or unpacking sometimes things that happen throughout the week, whether good and bad. I think these walks and hikes, as Alex mentioned, have been a great space for us to truly connect on a deeper level.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is by asking these questions, open-ended questions, curiosity. As Alex mentioned, I am a certified coach, and I think sometimes I sometimes wear that hat within our relationship, and there's some frustrations.
Can you tell?
But yeah, I think just our open-ended questions when we are on these walks, and really we love to just dream big, think big, and really very action oriented, and something that can be good and bad.
Yeah. Yeah, and kind of a segue too, we also put that picture working on the house because it's a common thing that we love doing together. So we love working on projects together. It's a big thing. You know, we both know we have these shared interests, and doing them together and supporting one another is a really fun thing. So that's been great for the most part. Great joy. There were some times where I threw a moving sander when I was very frustrated, but for the most part,
yeah. But walk us through when we did have those moments of frustration, or there was tiredness. What were some of the things that we did?
Yeah, I think when we, for that, the moment was like my uncle, who had been helping us and guiding us through putting this house together, basically, he had just left. It was kind of just the two of us to figure it out together. We were exhausted and up till like midnight or later most nights, working on this floor. We were like getting all of the tar and crap and like pulled all the tiles off of our floor to get it back to like the natural, like stained concrete. And I was just so frustrated because I thought it wasn't working. And in reality, it was just because the sandpaper thing had worn out. That's all it was. I just needed to replace it. But I think I had let myself get really tired and burn out. And so it was a reflection. It was a moment. Like, I still remember that moment of me like throwing a sander on the ground. And it was a moment where I just needed to say, okay, I really need to take some time for myself and like get a good night's sleep. And I needed to voice that to Jose, because Jose has a little more endurance in that realm. He's a long distance runner by sport for a long time. And so he has more of that stamina, and I need to like replenish my batteries a little more often. So that for me was just needing to communicate that to Jose, and being vulnerable in that way, which has always been a challenging thing for me to do, to ask for help. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've learned how to sometimes, when we do need to take a step back and in these projects and whatever we're doing, when we are having discussions, or we have different, we're on a different page. There's moments where we do have to take a step back and really take a good night's sleep, or sometimes it's just as easy as take a few breaths. But really taking a step back, it really has helped us.
Just gain better perspective, I think. Yeah, definitely. That's something for me that Jose's definitely helped with. What I've learned from him, it is good to be more reflective and to take some more time. So that feels good. Just seem to get my emotions out some way. All right. So beyond healthy habits, we're going to talk about creating your toolkit. So this is a good segue from, having the right tools in your toolbox that we've learned from our house. And this is like not revolutionary or anything groundbreaking. Like, toolkits exist because they're helpful. So we are going to talk about the love languages assessment. Since this was called Beyond Love Languages, we're going to talk about love languages and more. So Jose and I both recently took the love languages assessment, and we've not really shared each other's results with one another. And so we're going to do a little discussion and show how that goes. And we're going to give you all an opportunity to weigh in a little too. I did send this out. It was a little last minute. I just thought if anyone had 10 minutes and wanted to take it before, you could. So if you did take the love languages assessment recently, or you've taken it in the past, it's a good time to reflect on it personally. And if you haven't taken it yet, it's in your inbox. So you have it there as well.
Yeah, I took it today.
Yeah, you did. Because if you would have taken it before, I'm sure I would have asked you all about it. These are my results.
Oh, they are? These are mine. Sorry.
We printed them out, and I think Jose's, he thought they were his maybe. So, so we're going to host this discussion. Again, we're going to go back to our ground rules of just being vulnerable, open, and we're each going to practice active listening again, which is our intention for this discussion. So, so we're going to share our love languages with one another, and we're going to talk about what's working well and what we can improve. So, do you want to tell me about your love languages?
Oh, my love languages. So I got as my number one was the act of service, which was not very surprising as I take some time to think about the past several months. And then my second one was quality time. Third is physical touch, words of affirmation, and lastly, receiving gifts. So those were my results. And yeah, it was...
Yeah, well, that's good. So my top three are actually the same as, like, we have the same top three, just in a different order. So my top one is physical touch. My next top one is quality time, and then acts of service. And then words of affirmation and receiving gifts are both a little bit lower. So yeah, so for me, it's meaningful when we are, like, when we're close. It makes me feel safe. Like right yeah, like right now, where we like give a hug to each other after work, kind of checking in that way. I'm a personally, like, affectionate person. Even beyond our relationship, I am with those that are close to me too, in my personal life too. And I think quality time makes a lot of sense for us.
We like to do a lot of things together.
Yeah, we do. So I guess, like, how do you see, does this surprise you, or what do you see, like, going well?
What do I see going well?
Like, what do you, from these, like, does it make sense? Like, what do you think's working with both of our love languages here?
I mean, I think definitely being able to work from home has allowed us to spend some quality time, and I think being able to to have the opportunity to do these projects together has been so great. And yeah, I think it's something that I think we are really, I think, privileged in, and really spending beyond 8 to 5 together, and really doing this journey together. I think we are really I think that's something that is definitely going well on how we choose to spend time with each other. Although sometimes it's just working on projects or making dinner or breakfast together. So I think that's something that's going well.
Yeah. Well, I really agree with that. I think, so I had, my quality time is 30%. And Jose's was 27%. So that, to me, like, it makes a lot of sense. And it makes a lot of sense because, like he said, we have spent so much time together. And even though we, we'll get irritated sometimes here and there with one another, but I never really get sick of spending time with them. Honestly, I just haven't really felt that. So even today, he used to come in to La Suprema quite a bit before we had dogs. And now that we have dogs, he mostly stays home. And now that we have a home office that works totally fine for him, he's normally there. But today he's here, and I'm, just like, I'm like, it's so nice to have you here. It really is. And so I think for us, getting to spend quality time together is probably the biggest. And I think and we're going to touch on this later, but I think when I do get maybe frustrated or like a little out of touch, it feels when we aren't making time for quality time.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, if we're not doing anything special, if it's always house projects, it seems like that's always, and then I understand it because like your top one is acts of service. But I think when it's so much of that, it can feel out of balance for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And you know, I was going to save the example for later, but I feel like it's good to talk about it now.
Yeah, I think we can unpack that.
Yeah, it makes sense. Sure. There's a specific example that we wanted to share with you all. That's really recent. It's just from, I don't know, like 3 or 4 weeks ago, probably. I wanted to go on a date night, a surprise date, because Jose has always gone above and beyond with like surprising me with things, and I always fall short, or I feel like I fall short. So I told him, hey, don't make plans for Sunday at 3:30. We need to be dressed up and ready to go. I'm not going to tell you what we're doing, but like, that's the thing. Okay, so I'm at home with one of my roommates, and I'm like getting all ready, getting really excited, painting my nails and all the things, putting a dress on. Like, I haven't done that in so long because we haven't really gone anywhere, partly because of a huge part because of COVID. So that's what's happening. And meanwhile, Jose had called me a little bit before. He's like, hey, Jelly Bean, that's what he calls me. I'm going to run and get these pavers for our backyard. They're really good. They're really good deal. So I'm going to go get them. And I was like, okay. So he went there. So maybe like 3:00 rolls around and I still haven't heard from him. I look at my roommate and I'm like, I don't think he's going to make it home. And sure enough, like 10 minutes later, I missed like 8 calls from him. And he calls my roommate and he's like, hey, is Alex there? Like, I'm on my way home. But I was pretty angry. So Jose rolls in about 4 p.m. Truckload plus this other guy who's helping him, truckload and a trailer full of pavers. It's raining and it is like 4:00. So I'm dressed up and go outside to help unload about 2,000 pavers. And I was furious. I'm like slamming the pavers down, getting all my anger out, not letting Jose help me with any of them, and just taking them myself and slamming them down. And so then after that, we once all of them are unloaded, it was probably like 5 p.m. Jose gets ready. He's like, are you ready to go? And I was like, we're not going. We're not going now. Like, are you kidding me? Like, we missed our reservation. And honestly, it was such a Tohono Chul. And it was raining, so it wasn't the right day to go. But that happened. And then I had like food delivered later on that night from like it's Cooking with Court. If anyone's local, it's really great barbecue food. I had that delivered because it's like his favorite after living in Kansas City. So I know that he didn't have bad intention. So I was very frustrated, but I know he didn't do it out of like bad intent. And Jose, do you want to explain what your thought process was during that time?
Well, now that I've been able to take the love language, it makes a little bit more sense, right?
Yeah.
Alex has been talking about how she wants to transform her backyard. And for me, I saw this opportunity to be able to get these pavers and really be able to start this project that Alex has been talking about since we bought the house. So.
That's fair. To let you all know, I complain about it a lot. It's just dirt, and I complain, and I'm like, I just can't wait till this is done. So in Jose's defense, yeah.
So at my end, what I was thinking, I was like, what a great opportunity to get these pavers, and I can start on this project this spring. And we really have been talking about it for the past 4 months. So I didn't realize it was going to take that much time. And in my own head, in my own reality, I tried to be there and try to do both that and that makes sense. Why the act of service, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of being able to
to do that
for you.
Yeah.
And that was my reasoning for being late to our surprise date.
Yeah. And it's funny because, I said this way before taking this, it was that like day, I was like, Jose, I know in your head, you are thinking, oh, I have this great opportunity to get these things for Alex and do this for her. And she's going to be so excited that this is happening. And it's not going to be a big deal that we miss part of the date. But what I really wanted was that, oh my gosh, I'm so excited for whatever Alex has planned. I'm sure it's going to be so much fun. I can't wait to get dressed up and spend time together in that way. And it was totally the first reason. Right. But I just really, really wanted that special time together. Where like we both dressed up and did that because it really had been a long time. So it was like, this really does help understand that for both of us. I think this is important to understand. And just so everyone knows, Jose's acts of service is at 37%. So that's like 10% above his second one. So this is really good reflection and understanding.
Yeah, I'm glad we can laugh about it now. And really unpack that through this tool. But something that I do want to highlight is one thing that through our relationship is that we've been able to turn every outcome and circumstance into a gift and opportunity, and then really a learning moment. And I think that's something that I think in relationships sometimes we've been intentional about, is how do we turn this into a gift and opportunity. And that night we were able to turn it into an opportunity and really talk and be in dialogue with each other of what just happened, right? But yeah, I think this language was really helpful.
I'm laughing because we ended the night by like cuddling and eating our barbecue food and watching Outlander together, which like made me feel really nurtured. So it's just like which is physical touch is my top one. So it just makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So there's that. So we're going to have to go through this a little bit quicker because we have 10 minutes left, but take some time to reflect on these. They had a lot of different options for the quizzes. You can take it for if you're in a relationship, or if you want to take it for work, or if you want to take it with a friend or a loved one. So there's options there, and it's just really good to reflect on this. And have that open dialogue. And again, for us, what's really helped is active listening, not being judgmental, like not being critical throughout this, and just hearing the other person out. It's been helpful for facilitating these discussions. And so we wanted to share this example because this is something like this, what we just did is something that we try to do and incorporate into our relationship often-ish, like on a regular basis. And we have a lot of resources that we've used and a lot of tools to do this and incorporate it consistently. So these resources are like a part of our healthy habits as well. So we use all of these things to facilitate these dialogues. And so we wanted to point some of these out. I have a whole list of them on the next slide, but some here like this, What Makes Love Last. This was a recent podcast that Brene Brown did on her Unlocking Us podcast with John and Julie Gottman. They're relationship experts, and this was really eye-opening for me. I thought it was a wonderful podcast. We listened to it together just over the weekend, and just really helpful. Super helpful strategies basically to making love last. And they have a whole website. The Enneagram's on here, Strengths Finder, Jose, the 4 agreements. That's one of his favorites. Yeah. So that's one that he had shared with me when we first started dating, actually, that he had really already put into practice. And we still bring up all the time, what do you always tell me?
What do I tell you?
From that book, what do you always tell me?
Don't take things personally.
Yeah. And like, don't make assumptions. Is that another one?
Assumptions, yeah.
There's a lot that I can work on from that book still. And Jose's a really good reminder of holding me accountable to those. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, going back to it, these are tools that I think have helped us flourish our relationship, and again to create that system of growth that we were sharing. And as we take these personality assessments, you know yourself better than any personality assessment. The personality assessment is just a tool to really start the conversation and provide a different perspective or a different lens to see things through. So, but we do love taking personality assessments and just assessments in general, and really try to facilitate.
They're just fun, honestly. Yeah. And a couple of things on that. Yeah. So I would like not get too caught up in like, if you look at the Enneagram, like which ones go best together and are you destined to be, and all of those types of things. I don't really think, I mean, sometimes those are a little bit helpful, but they're not the end all be all. So sometimes just take that with a grain of salt. These are here to be used as a guide, not as set in stone. And things change. Like even with the Strengths Finder assessment, I've taken that 3 times now, and every time I've had like a couple of the same, but a lot of the others have changed. And so that happens. We change as individuals and we change as partners too.
Absolutely.
And then I just wanted to bring up a little background. We forgot to mention this earlier, but Jose and I are both like leadership nerds. It's something we discovered early on. Like I was a leadership minor in college and did a bunch of, like I was an orientation leader at Ohio State and went to leadership. Jose also went to leadership. He has his master's in higher education and now is studying educational leadership. So we like geek out on this stuff. We really love it. And just want to share some of our favorite resources. We understand it's not for everyone, but we think there's some really helpful tools. So I am going to share our resources out with you all just via email later on, but we've had so much fun. I mean, there's just like so many free resources online that you can go to. And it's like, oh, I understand that. Like I see that in myself and I see that in you. And it's another tool that we can use to understand each other better.
Absolutely. Yes.
Right. Yeah. And it's fun to do them with family members and stuff too. I didn't think my family was like super into this, but the more that I've done like personality assessments with them, they all kind of are. And we've realized like I grew up in a family of 4, and we're each a different role, which is cool. And I actually facilitated a true colors assessment. It's a personality assessment for our house. We live with 4 other people in our house, Jose's brother and his girlfriend and our another good friend. And I facilitated true colors, and sure enough, we had every color represented, which was just really, really cool. And it's a good way to understand each other and gets us shifting, especially living with people. It's like, why can't that person clean up the dishes? And it's like, well, that's not that person's priority. Their priority is having fun, and it's like, so how do we work together to respect that? And it's getting that person who likes to have fun more than likes to have things in order to understand that to help that person, they need to help keep things in order. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
What did you say?
No, I think, I mean, again, going back to it, I think there's ways to increase our own capacity, and that is through these self-inventories, and just having dialogue is important, making that space to prioritize that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is just a small note to say, it's like being really open to growth. So we're committed to a growth mindset. We're rolling with the punches. We're adaptable. 2020 made us be incredibly adaptable, way more than ever, right? Every human on this call can understand that. And something for us that we learned through our experience that we shared from about a month ago, that we're going to start, something we want to start is going on a weekly date night or a weekly date at some point, and prioritizing that. And that's going to help us both touch that quality time piece that are number 2 for both of us.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. I think that's something that we definitely need to do.
Yeah. So if you have date night ideas in Tucson, let us know. We're excited to learn about them. that's something fun that we are excited and looking forward to. And even, my mom always tells me, she's like, Alex, that project will be there tomorrow. That work will be there tomorrow. And that's been a helpful thing for me to learn. It's like, we've been so obsessed with our house and getting all of the projects done, and getting all of our work done, that we have lacked in taking that time to like dress up for one another and like, just do something where we're not being productive. We're just enjoying each other's time. And so I think we're both going to commit to, I don't think we're both going to commit to doing our weekly date night. That's
absolutely
special and non-productive.
Yeah. We try to be very productive.
Yeah.
We just need to take a little break.
Yes. So the thank you slide, this is not the end. I just read The Art of Gathering, and I learned that you don't want to just end on a thank you. So I'm putting this as the penultimate slide, the second to last slide, to thank everyone for coming today and for listening. And for just listening. I really appreciate it. It's been really fun to share our story. I hope that we have helped. I hope that we've shared something that has helped today, and you all can take away with you. And I'll be emailing you all with the recording and with this presentation, so you can reference back or share with others if you'd like to. No need to check with us before sharing. You can feel free to do that. Yeah. So we are going to end with a quote from, I believe you pronounce his name, Alain de Botton. He is the author of a book called The Course of Love, which came highly recommended by my friend. And it's a book that Jose and I both read, actually, about a couple's relationship. And it's about everything that happens. And then it's like this like teaching moment kind of after everything that happens. Beautiful. But the quote goes, "The partner truly best suited to us is not the one who miraculously happens to share every taste, but the one who can negotiate differences in taste with intelligence and good grace. Rather than some notional idea of a perfect complementary, it is the capacity to tolerate dissimilarity that is the true marker of the right person. Compatibility is an achievement of love. It shouldn't be its precondition."
What a great way to end.
You like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Alrighty, everyone. I am going to stop sharing my screen and just thank you all for being here today. Again, we appreciate it. Go out and have a beautiful day filled with love and kinder relationships. So,
thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.